Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is loops. So loops are important in C programming. Loops are used to repeat a block of code. So you can repeat this kind of things for certain amount of times. We want to run this one if the system is under some condition. We want to do this part of a code because of some reason. So there are a few different kinds of loops we want to use in C and C++. There are three types of loops we use all the time. One is for, the other one is do while, and the third one is while. So let's talk about those kind of things first. So for loop, it means that if I need to repeat a certain part of code for so many times, then we use for loop. It doesn't matter what the system condition is going to look like. If I need to repeat those part of code for certain times, I do it. So one example over here is if this line over here is going to print out the number of I, so the output is going to be the value is of I is 1, 2, 3 until 10. So this one is over here is going to run that for 10 times. So that's pretty simple. So I'm doing another example. So of course, if I have a main function, I'm going to do int answer. So I declare an integer, and I also doing something like this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is there is one important step I'm doing over here, which is I specify answer equals to 0. If we do not do that, there is no guarantee the number of answer is always 0, because the C program is not going to initialize all their numbers as 0. They can be a random number. So every time if you want to use a variable, just initialize. Be sure you initialize that and you put 0 in the very beginning so that we know it starts from 0. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to do for loop for I equals to 1. It means that I'm going to start my number of I as 1. Then I'll repeat that 9 times because I is smaller than 9. Then I plus plus. It means that within this loop, every time I'm around it, I is going to be increased by 1. So this is important part. You need to remember how the operator is going to look like. And over here, answer is going to be it's 1, the number of itself plus I. So I run this one for 9 times, then I print it out. Then once this one is done, then I finish my task. But now I still forget something, because I need to terminate my program. Before I terminate everything, I need to respond to the system. So over here, I'm going to use return 0 to the whole program. So that is something you need to remember. So what does this actually mean? It means that it's going to be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. So you might know that the number is going to be 45. So after we run this part, the monitor is going to show up the answer is actually 45. So you can try this code in your code block and you should be able to see the result. There are many other things for the type command over here, I would suggest you guys go online in the c++.com or .org, or you buy a textbook. You can buy a cheap C++ textbook. You can just use one. That's very cheap, and you can get that like under $10 from Amazon or other websites. So be sure you get one as your reference. That will be handy. The other one is we're going to do while. Do while has one important character. It is going to, if you see do and you put the code between the braces, so it means that when you see do, it will run the code at least once. Then after that, it's going to determine whether it's going to run for the second time based on the condition over here. So in this case, if I equals to 0, so after you run this line, it's going to be 1 because you have I++ over here. But you will print 0 first because the plus sign is after the I. So after it's printed out, it will be added by 1. So we're going to have I equals, when you check this one, it's already I equals to 1. But the result is going to be 0. So when I equals to 1 is still smaller than 3. So I'm going to print out the number again. After it's been printed out, it's going to be added by 1. So it's going to be 2 in this case. It's still smaller than 3. So I'm going to print out 2. Then it's going to be added by 1. Now, this one is small, is not equal to 3. So this condition doesn't meet. It's not met. So it will stop the process within this loop and jump out. Then since nothing next to it, so this is going to be a result we're going to see on the monitor. So it means that if a do loop is used, the code over here is going to be executed at least once. The code is executed at least once. That is something important you need to remember. If we are using while loop, it's going to be a little bit different. So while loop is put while, not like do loop. Do loop we have do in the first, but for while loop we have while, and the logical relationship over here first. So we determine whether the condition has satisfied the condition we put in this expression. If it's satisfied, then we run the statement within the braces. But if it's not satisfied, then we just go out. So when we are using do loop, the code will be executed at least once. But if we are using while loop, chances that we never execute the lines between the two braces. So that is going to be the major difference, because the condition is not guaranteed to be fulfilled. So let's talk about this code over here. So initial, we start a number n which equals to 5. So for the first time we run this code, we print out 5. Oops. Then n has been added by 1, so n equals to 6. Now we print 6 again. Then this is going to be 6. Then we go back to this condition determination part. It's still smaller than 7, so I'm going to print out n first. So the next round I print out is still 6, but over here n has been plus by 1, so n becomes 7, and we round it we run this line, it's going to be now n equals to 7. This is n equal to, this is now n equal to, this is n equal to, now n equal to. Okay, then we go back to this part again, and it's no longer smaller than 7. Equal is not, does not fulfill the criterion. So when we run this line, it has been ended, so it's not going to run the code anymore. Instead, it will go to the line next to the embrace. So this is something that you need to know when you are using while loop. What's the difference between a while loop and the while loop? The next example is if we are using a this one over here is a little bit different because we are no longer compare with numbers. This operator over here is not equal to. Okay, so over here I'm checking what is my current input through the keyboard. So if I'm using my keyboard and the key I input is not equals to A because I put the keyboard, I try to get a keyboard input and put that into this variable, and if this variable is not equals to A, I keep on doing the taking the input and also count how many inputs I actually try, because every time I run this part of code, one variable is going to be added by 1. So as soon as I hit the keyboard A and press enter, it will jump out this while loop because the condition has been fulfilled. So this is a very handy one if you want to do forever loop. There are a few other things that we're going to talk about later. And when we are doing loops, we can actually use nested loop. It means that if I have, for instance, I have a table, I have column, I have row, right? So if I wanna fill all the numbers within this matrix, I have no choice but doing column and row, 2 variables. So if I want to fill all the variables, I would need to use 2 for loop. One is for column, the other one is for row. So this is one of the example that we can think about to use those kind of stuff. Next page. So that is nested. So you can use any kind of nested loop with any kind of combination. You can have for loop within the while loop. You can have the while loop within the for loop, and you can have everything based on your requirement of the application. But sometimes it's necessary to execute a certain code permanently. For instance, if we have a microprocessor and we want this microprocessor to control the brightness of a light, it means that we need to have this one to be controlled forever. You cannot say, okay, I only want to control this is light bulb for once. It's not acceptable because when you if you are engineer and the application typically is going to be running forever. So when we are doing something like this, we need to have a programming skill that allow us to run the code for good. So there are 2 type of loop function can do such a thing. One is while loop, the other one is for loop. If we are doing while one, because when you see while one, we are running the code within the braces. But when we go back to check whether this one is fulfilled, it is 1. When this is 1, let's go back to the previous slides and talk about what that is actually means. So when we are doing expression over here, if we want to run the code over here, then it must be true. .ue. If you don't want to run this code and just jump out, it's going to be false. Logically, it's easy to understand, but in reality or in number-wise, this is 1. This is 0. So when we are doing something like this, we are doing forever loop. This is going to be always true. Means that when it's true, it's going to run the code within these braces. So if you put 1, it means that it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to run this part of code permanently, and it's just a sequence. So once this sequence is completed, I'm going to run for another sequences. So it's kind of like forever. If you don't want to do that one, you can use for loop. This is also another possible way to do a forever loop, but I would say that this is a more common one rather than using the for loop one. So that will be something that we're going to use as a loop command. We're going to talk about functions in the next video.